Welcome to Salt and Light Songs, a series where we sit down with musicians to reflect on stories of people who have been salt and light in different vocations. This is just one part of a four-part conversation with singer-songwriter Zan Fiskum. If you're just joining us, check out our Substack for the full story. And if you're back, welcome. Let's jump in.
Before I hand the hot potato over to Libby with some more questions, this kind of question that I think to some degree is a false choice of Christian music versus non-Christian music, Christian literature. I think actually anything produced by a believer is Christian
Yeah,
content,
I
so it's
agree.
better how it's labeled, and I know you feel the same way. But I would love for you just to share a little bit about how you navigate that conversation in your own mind, your own community,
hmm
your own music. Like, where do you worry about those distinctions? Do you not worry about them? You just let the
Yeah,
authenticity flow wherever it's going to flow. Just talk about that,
yeah,
that not tension, but that hopefully holistic kind of a perspective. Yeah.
I know. I feel like I've come into not feeling the tension anymore, and I really did for a long time. And people in my life felt the tension. Um, I I will say, like, I have a a distinct gifting in my life as well as a worship leader. And I don't say that as a prideful thing, but I know that there is like anointing on my life for that. And so people in my life who knew worship leader Zan now start to be a singer songwriter were very fearful of what that meant and looked like or would look like. And I actually had a pastor who kind of spoke up for me once because he was like, somebody asked me, like, is it hard for you to do songs for God and then other times for yourself? He's like, well, it's all for God. I'm like, yeah, thanks, Pastor Brian. So it's all for the Lord. I actually feel like sometimes when I'm doing my shows, I'm literally like, it's like I'm singing to God during the set, and people might not know that, but that is within my heart. And I would say that, like, I just got to do a thing in North Carolina with John Mark McMillan where we were talking about songwriting, and he was just talking about how the vibe of the audience can kind of affect how vulnerable you are. And I will say that that's totally true. Is depending on the audience, sometimes I will say to a non-Christian crowd, I believe in God and he helped me with this, and then other times I'm like, I'm going to be a little gentler. um, just because you can kind of feel if it's receptive or not. And I think that's a wisdom thing rather than like a fearful thing in how you approach it. But yeah, I felt the tension for a long time and I don't now. And one last thing I will say is I actually prayed and I told the Lord, I will not do music if you don't want me to. And I have had these just crazy things like happen after praying that, where it is so like blatant in your face that God's like, I want you to do music. And so I think also having that kind of confirmation from him has given me the peace to really go forward. So
Thank you, Zane. Yeah, Libby, over to you.
Yeah, just that was beautiful, but switching gears just a little bit and we'll come back to that. As you know, we call the series Salt and Light Songs,
yeah.
where we kind of chat with an artist about different mini comic stories that we have written about, and our illustrator has sketched. And today we're talking with you about our mini comic on silence, which I actually realized as we started the call that the movie poster
Yeah.
is right here.
It's perfect.
So funny.
Great
Yep.
marketing.
And great marketing. Silence is one of our more, I would say, complicated mini comics because we're covering a lot. We talk about kind of the production of this film and all that went into it, but also the history of persecution
Mm-hmm.
of Christians in Japan. So, considering all of that and the different aspects of it, having read the essay and mini comic on silence, Was there anything that kind of stood out to you or has stuck with you since reading that?
Yeah, I think the thing that stuck with me is that there was a powerful movement of faith, and then everyone went underground. And I just,
Mm-hmm.
I've been pondering, yeah, just the underground church. And my sister and brother-in-law are missionaries in Asia. And there's actually like things that we can't even disclose about what they do, where they go, countries that they have to be careful to travel to. And so there's some like personal connection into that. And we went and visited them in last year, and just kind of getting to hear some people's testimonies. There is something, I mean, it's terrible what the people went through, but there's something like powerful about the passion that you have for the Lord when you're kind of put under those sort of circumstances. That is palpable when you have a conversation with a person who's been under persecution. And just like even people receiving a Bible and they're weeping over like this precious gift. And I'm like, wow, how fortunate I am to live where I do, but also like I wish that I felt like that when I had been given my Bible as a young person. So that's kind of some sporadic thoughts, but that's sort of what I connected to when reading the comic.
Yeah, totally. I think I agree. I feel like it, for me, was interesting to think about how salt and light as believers in different cultures and different places can just look really different.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of this comic is kind of about where is God in suffering and how can we be salt and light when it feels like maybe God is silent in our suffering. And the novel and the film and our comic kind of wrestle with that question. So has that question, where is God in suffering, shown up in your own life, and how does it kind of play out in your life as an artist?
Yeah, I definitely relate to that. I don't know why, but the song I wanted to actually perform is about my struggle with obsessive compulsive disorder. And I don't know why, but I have been allowed to suffer with that disorder. And then God does something powerful. And it has happened so many times in my life that I know it is just a pattern that will continue to happen. I mean, maybe one day God will fully just like heal me and I'll be like fine. But I think that there's been quite a few times where I've gone through like a 4-year period of just absolute suffering. And I do think it is true, though, when the Bible talks about that there's joy to be found in suffering, because it brings us back to the Lord. And I have learned how to lean on him as my strength in those seasons. But yeah, I don't understand it, and it's really painful and it's really hard. And, writing songs does help as a way to kind of navigate those seasons.
Yeah, I feel like one of the hardest parts about those things is how isolating it feels. So even seeing now the Lord kind of using that as you're singing about it and people being able to hear, oh, this is something that I have gone through as well. There's even fruit in that. And that is another thing too, like where I found, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the film, but it's really heavy.
It is.
Yeah. And there's another part of it of like, oh, these are questions that people for a long time have wrestled with, which makes me feel comforted as a believer. But it definitely it has you sit with this like suffering and doubt and these more complicated questions. So as someone, as you have said, who kind of writes from those places of honesty and authenticity, how do you navigate sharing that kind of weight with your audience?
Yes, I think I'm still trying to figure out what feels just like the just right. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
because yeah, sometimes it does feel like too much, to be honest. And that could be where I'm at just during in that day or something like that. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of what I have to say about that.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
totally fair. Has art or music kind of played a role for you in like processing these thoughts, or is it like kind of a
Mhm.
creative outlet for you? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that would be something I would say I found ever since I was young is just I will write songs. It just is what I do.
Mm.
When I was well, let's see, I was 10, I believe. Um, I wrote a song for a family friend who her daughter had just been born and she was diagnosed with cancer. And I, at 10 years old, prophesied that she would be healed and wouldn't die of this stage 4 cancer. And then I wrote a song. And I was like, and my heart cries out, like from the mom's perspective. I mean, it was a passionate song, but it's kind of been like this, this sanctuary for me ever since I was young of just expressing um, my emotions through music. And I know that that will never go away. It's just part of who I am. Even if I had to leave music and stop doing it professionally for some reason, like that, I just can't not express it through song, you know?
Yeah, totally. And Josh, I'm about to pass it over to you, but just kind of to wrap up, I feel like a lot of things that we get to talk about here is how important story is and how the Lord kind of puts that on our hearts, to use like imagery and this artistry to get to process. So that's really beautiful. Thanks for reflecting with me.
Yeah, thank you.